On the planet Igam, humans did not rule. In fact, they were regarded as nothing more than pets when domesticated, and pests when they were out in the elements. It was the Draag who reigned supreme. With their gargantuan stature and incredibly advanced technology, the furthest reaches of the galaxy were no longer a mystery. In their travels, they had explored a planet named Terre that was inhabited by tiny creatures they referred to as Ohms. The Ohms were not the first foreign creatures to step foot on Igam. In fact, the Draag were known for their inquisitive nature, and often brought back live samples to further their observations and research. The two species coexisted, with the Draag being the superior beings, and the Ohms playing the role of a fragile pet. With such circumstances, how were the Ohms ever to escape their captivity on Igam, and the harsh conditions that the Draag subjected them to? In this video, I will show you exactly how to beat the Draag. But before we begin, let's take a moment to analyze a few key points that will better our understanding of the enemy threat. First and foremost, the original film, Planete Sauvage, was made in 1973 by French director René Laloux. The English translation has the title of Fantastic Planet, which has a vastly different meaning. In fact, the original title means The Wild Planet, which we will explore the significance of near the end of the video. Following the film's French origin, we learn that the term Ohm is actually a play on the French word homme, which means man. The planet they were captured from was named Terre, which is French for Earth. An interesting fact and an important foundation that helped solidify the setting of the story in the distant future, when mankind had left Earth in ruins. Now, although the primary threat is the enormous and intelligent Draag, the foreign planet is full of its fair share of dangers. In order to gain the upper hand on a much larger, much more technologically advanced civilization, we need to understand their habitat. Igam has a total of 3 seasons, one of which results in gaseous crystallization, which is the process of entire fields, structures, and even living beings getting covered by rapidly growing crystals. Interestingly enough, although these crystals may seem to be indestructible, they can easily be dispatched by whistling at varying frequencies. Small shards of these broken crystals could be harvested and potentially weaponized as a specially designated stealth-attack type weapon, due to the fact that the Draag were well aware of the whistling technique and have thrived in Igam for an untold amount of time. Stealth is key to using the crystal shards as weapons, as any frontal assault would be inoculated instantly. Another thing to consider is that most non-edible flora or fauna should be considered dangerous, the primary reason being the vast difference in size. The Ohms are likely the smallest intelligent creatures on the planet and have numerous predators to be wary of. Lastly, Igam has one satellite moon that the Draag refer to as the Wild Planet, or Planete Sauvage, as mentioned earlier. Given the atmosphere of Igam is habitable by humans, the moon may share a similar composition. So now that we know more about the enemy planet, it's time to prepare for our battle against the Draag. Despite the obvious need for sophisticated weaponry, the primary objective should be to acquire knowledge of Draag technology. Since many domesticated Ohms had escaped into the wilderness, their experiences and observations were invaluable. The tamed Ohms were aware of 2 critical pieces of information. Number 1 is that the Draag use headsets to permanently implant educational lessons about their planet, technology, language, and more in very concise sessions. Number 2 is that the mature Draag spent the majority of their day meditating. This left them in a trance-like state that could potentially leave them at their most vulnerable. The first mission would be to acquire a headset in order to arm the Ohms with the knowledge of the Draag technology. The Ohms could use these lessons to learn how to reverse engineer the existing items around them and craft weapons or even vehicles for transportation and, more importantly, escape. Any individual Ohm was no match for a single Draag, so the humans' next greatest strength was their numbers. Lessons from the headset would eventually reveal how the Draag reproduced at a rate much slower than that of humans. In fact, 1 Draag week was the equivalent of 1 human year. This illustrates the vast disparity in their perception of time, which could be used against them. In fact, since humans reproduce so rapidly, the Ohms could build their numbers in between de-ohming cycles. De-ohming refers to the cyclical extermination of Ohms that dwell in the wild. Often, areas such as abandoned parks, older cities, etc. became makeshift homes for the small survivors. The Draag were well aware of this, and they performed these deoming sessions once every 3 cycles to manage the increasing numbers. 1 Draag cycle is equal to 3 human years, so 3 cycles would come out to about 9 years. From the perspective of a healthy Ohm, 9 years is ample time to learn, craft, and devise plans to counter the next extermination, or better yet, to attack the Ohms during the meditation sessions. But the key is to utilize their own technology against them and keep multiple hideouts over a large area. This will allow the Ohms to observe the effects of their newly created weapons. Due to the Draag's superior size and technology, direct opposition may not be an option. If they prove too difficult to defeat, escape would be the next best option. Vehicles designed for space exploration could be constructed by any healthy Ohm who had acquired a sufficient amount of knowledge and tech scraps from the Draag, especially given the frequency of the D-Ohm cycles. The headset would eventually cover mature topics such as reproduction and the importance of the satellite moon, which was reserved as a venue for the Draag to perform mating rituals during their meditation. Although this practice granted them vital energy to nourish their bodies, it left them completely vulnerable to attack. Severing the mental connection between the host resulted in blindness and death. Tactical usage of the Ohm's newly crafted weapons during these sessions on the wild planet could completely eradicate large numbers of mature Draag, leaving behind only the young, who were unable to meditate and thus sustain their lives. With the majority of the leadership removed from the equation, cloak and dagger tactics over a number of cycles would work to eliminate the remaining Draag children. Those who were unfortunate enough to survive the Ohm attacks would eventually succumb to the inevitable deaths due to malnourishment. And that's how you beat the Draag. Although it's not an instant solution, the time invested in acquiring knowledge of the enemy race resulted in a long-term victory for humanity and a second chance to screw everything up again. And that's all for this video. If you want more content like this, then be sure to like, subscribe, and comment Draag down below. And until next time, it's the Inhuman one signing out. Welcome to my universe.